Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram. Om Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Om Namaste Astu Bhagavan Vishveshwaraya Mahadevaya Trambakaya Tripurantakaya Trikagnikalaya Kalagni Rudraya Neelakanthaya Mrityunjayaya Sarveshwaraya Sadashivaya Shriman Mahadevaya Namaha. Hari Om, salutations to all. So the word Linga means that consciousness into which everything gets absorbed, from which everything emerges, in which everything sustains. Specifically, the aspect of merging. Bhagavan is, as Shiva, he is in charge of the destruction aspect of the creation. And it doesn't happen only at the end of the creation. Every single moment there is creation, destruction going on simultaneously. Linam gamayati iti lingam. That in which everything becomes unmanifest, from which everything again becomes manifest. That supreme consciousness is lingam. With this bhav, when one looks at the linga, that linga is Chinmaya, linga is consciousness, linga is Shiva as a tattva. The mind of the student also, or the seeker also, gets absorbed in it, and one reaches what we call amani bhav, the state beyond mind. One experiences oneness with the truth. So that is why for the devotee, the linga is most auspicious. It reminds one of Bhagavan Shiva. It reminds one of Bhagavan Shiva in the Nirgun Nirakar Roop. It can remind one of Bhagavan Shiva even in the Sagun Sakar Roop. There is nothing wrong in that. And for the devotee, it is worshipping of the linga, is worshipping of Shiva Tattva, worship of pure consciousness, worship of Parameshwara, who appears as Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, Param Shiva, who appears as that. So a devotee does not worship the linga with the bhav that this is a stone. The devotee looks at the linga and tears come out of the eyes of the devotee, thinking of that Supreme Lord and His grace, His compassion, because of which one is alive, because of which everything happens. So devotee thinks of Shivalinga in this way. The symbol may be limited, but what it will indicate is the unlimited. Now, if we understand this very clearly, in Vedanta, what do we say? That infinite consciousness is nameless, formless, attributeless. It is unborn, unchanging, undying. It is non-dual. It does not have any duality. There is no creation also in that. It is absolute. That is the supreme state of oneness. There is only one truth. It is Purnam. So we call it Brahman, we call it Chaitanya. So many names are there for it. Even Shiva means that. Shantam, Shivam, Advaitam, it is said in the Mandukya Upanishad. It is a state of non-duality. It is absolute peace, not relative peace of the mind that comes and goes. It is a peace of the self that never goes. Mind can be disturbed, but the self will never be disturbed. So it is a piece of that. Now, so that state is absolute, in that there is no duality. And being changeless, it cannot be the cause of any creation. Here we are in duality. We are seeing what is the vyavahara that is happening here, the transactions that are happening here. They are conditioned by space, time, objects, desha, kala, vastu. So right now, whatever time, 5:40 in the morning here, there's particular place in which one is sitting here, and there's some transaction happening, various objects are there. So one is living in duality. Then the question naturally is, from where did this come if that alone is the truth? So Vedanta says at one level below that infinite consciousness using its power of Maya becomes Ishvara. Brahman using the power of Maya becomes Ishvara, and the entire creation comes forth. The power of Maya brings forth the five elements, and the five elements come in the subtle form, and then they become grosser, and then these bodies, physical bodies, are created. The whole sequence of creation is given. What is important to understand is, by itself, Maya is not an independent power. By itself, Prakriti is not an independent power. It is the power of Supreme Lord. Devi Yesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya, he says in the Gita. But my Maya is a divine Maya. So it's not an independent power. And it is Gunamayi, it has three gunas, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. So Bhagwan or Ishvara is Brahman plus Maya. Brahman plus Maya is equal to Ishvara. And that Ishvara is the cause of the whole creation. Naturally, the cause only appears as the whole effect. The mud appears as the pot, gold appears as the bangle. So infinite consciousness with the power of Maya becomes Ishvara, appears as this whole creation, does not produce creation out of itself, does not remain separate from the creation, appears as the creation. The example for that is the waker. The waker is Brahman, using the power of dreaming, that is Maya. The waker plus dreaming power is equal to dreamer, the dream creator, which we call Ishvara. The dream creator creates the dream world. So creates the dream world means what? The waker's mind only appears as the dream world. Everything in the dream world is waker's mind. So the dream creator appears as the dream world and becomes all the creatures and the inert things in the dream. So we say Akhanda Mandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tat Padam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So salutations to that Guru who made me realize that unbroken consciousness which is appearing as this whole universe, Akhanda Mandalakaram, which pervades the moving and the non-moving, inert and the sentient. So once we understand this, that supreme consciousness using its power of Maya enlivens this Prakriti, and that manifests as this entire world. In the 14th chapter, Bhagavan says very beautifully, you see this Mama Yonir Mahad Brahma Tasmin Garbham Dadhamyaham Sambhava Sarva Bhutanam Tato Bhavati Bharata. Says Mama Yonir Mahad Brahma, that total mind, the dreamer in this context, the dream creator in this context, says Mama Yonir Mahad Brahma Tasmin Garbham Dadhamyaham. In that I place the germ, meaning consciousness enlivens that. So using the power of Maya, consciousness becomes that total mind. That is what it means, which is the womb of the entire creation. Those of us who know Vedanta, who have studied, we know that the total gross bodies put together is called Virat. Consciousness manifesting through all the gross bodies is called Virat. Bodies are not called Virat. Consciousness manifesting through total mind is called Hiranyagarbha, and consciousness manifesting through total causal body, that is called Ishvara. So that Ishvara is this Mama Yonir Mahat Brahma. Ishvara is not just Prakriti, not just Purusha. Purusha Prakriti coming together, that total mind is the womb of the whole creation. Tasmin Garbham Dadhamyaham. Sambhava Sarvabhutanam. All the beings appear from there. Tato Bhavati Bharata. So Gurudev says so nicely here that the total potential nature is the virgin womb in which, when the shaft of consciousness penetrates the light of awareness that consequently plays in it, is its act of impregnation. We should not think in terms of some sensual enjoyment. It is the enlivening, like in a limited way, if we say that electricity passing through that wires enlivens that bulb, then the light will come. By itself, electricity will not give light. By itself, bulb will not give light. Electricity and the bulb coming in contact will give the light. Now, obviously, their electricity is different, bulb is different. They are two different entities completely. Here, it is not like that. The potential is Maya, which is Bhagwan's potential. And then that is enlivened. 5 elements come out and all that. So by itself, 5 elements are Jadavastu, and the body is made up of it also are Jadavastu only. When that consciousness enlivens it, or even the existence of the 5 elements is because of consciousness. So this has to be understood very clearly. The inert Prakriti dynamized by life becomes, the inert Prakriti vitalized by life becomes dynamized, grows and manifests itself as the spectacular universe. Hence it is said, from which is the birth of all beings. For the student, for the seeker, for the bhakta, Shivalinga means this. Combination of Purusha and Prakriti it is. Otherwise, by itself, the Linga is uh, what we call spherical, and it does not have any base. It represents only Chaitanya, consciousness, absolute truth. But in that there is no creation. So it is placed in the Pitham. That is symbolic of Prakriti. So Purusha on top, Prakriti bottom, both come together. For the Bhakta, Shivalinga is that, the combination of Purusha and Prakriti. And in that we have to understand Purusha does not mean a human being, and Prakriti does not mean Purusha does not mean a male, and Prakriti does not mean a female. It is a principle of consciousness, principle of the Maya Shakti, or the power of consciousness. So Gurudev gives another example here that in an artist, there's a creative urge, and the artist comes forward to paint, to sing, depends on whatever is that art. But by itself, that creative urge cannot manifest unless there is consciousness which enlivens the mind, which enlivens the body. Then even the awareness of that creative urge is there, and then one is able to go forward, do the expression of it. So he says he may express it through colors as in a painting, through songs as in music, through stones as in sculpture, or through words as in literature. But a dead artist can no more express anything. The total universe of ideas and tendencies, when graced by life, becomes vigorous and expresses as the universe created. See, this Vedantic principle has to be understood very clearly. Now, this Vedantic principle is depicted as a symbol, which is Shivalinga. And this is further expressed through the story. So we find in Koti Rudra Samhita, in chapter 12 in Shiv Puran, this description comes, the story comes. So the rishis, they ask Sutaji that you are omniscient by the grace of Bhagavan Vyasa. Nothing is unknown to you. So we ask you that is there any reason in this world for the worship of Linga other than whatever he has said so far? And they say that, O Suta, the Parvati, the beloved of Shiva, has been said to be the form of Bana. Bana Rupa Shruta Loke Parvati Shiva Vallabha Etat Kim Karanam Suta Kathayatvam Yatha Shrutam. You please tell us what is the significance of that Bana or an arrow? What is the significance of that? So Sutaji says that I heard from Vyasa this whole story about the change of kalpas and what happens in different kalpas. So one of the stories I'm going to tell you. So he says that in Daruka 1, there were some Brahmanas who were very ritualistic, and they were devotees of Bhagavan Shiva. They used to engage in worship of Shiva. Shiva Bhakta Sadanityam Shiva Dhyana Parayanaha. So they adored Shiva thrice a day. They praised him with the best of the stotras, and they engaged in worship of Bhagavan. One day they went out to gather some samidha sticks for the Havan. At that time, Bhagavan Shiva appeared in the Digambar form. Bhagavan is Digambara, we have seen earlier also in Panchakshara Stotram, etc. He is mentioned as Digambara. So Digambara means one who does not have body identification. Point one. For whom space are the clothes, whose mind revels in Brahman. That is Digambara. And here is Bhagavan himself manifesting. So obviously Bhagavan is supreme consciousness alone. So he manifests as Digambara in a physical form with there are no clothes on the body. So he is naked but immensely illustrious, has applied bhasma all over the body. Digambaroti tejasvi bhuti bhushana bhushitaha. Now, when he manifests in that way, what was his objective? His objective was to do some good for these Brahmanas. And why did he come there? He came of his own will. Brahmanas are worshipping Bhagwan, no doubt. But why did Bhagwan come there? He came of his own will out of compassion for those Brahmanas. He came. So these Brahmanas have gone to get the sticks. Bhagwan has appeared here in the place of their residence. And these wives of Brahmanas who are there, they look at this young brahmachari who has come, bhikshu who has come. This is also called Bhikshatana Rupa Bhagavan Shiva. As a Digambara, he comes asking Bhiksha. So they get charmed, they are mesmerized by that form of Bhagavan Shiva and they are attracted to him, they run towards him, they are fighting over each other. At that time, these rishis, they come and they suddenly feel, what is this? Some young man is standing here and he is naked and these women are, lusting over him. What is happening here? And they were powered by Maya of Bhagavan Shiva. So they uttered, who is he? Who is he? Tada dukkham anupraptaha koyam koyam tatha bruvan samasta rishayaste vai Shiva Maya vimohitaha. Bhagavan did not speak anything. He was silent. And so what did these Brahmanas do? They said, Tvaya viruddham kriyate veda margavilo piyat tat tatastvadiya tallingam patatam prithvi tale. So you are acting contrary to the uh, descriptions given in our Veda. You are following an evil path, contrary to Vedic practices. So let your linga fall on the earth. Because he came in Digambar Roop and these women are lusting over him, so they cursed Bhagwan. They cursed the Lord only they cursed. Let your linga fall. Now, at these words of the sages, the astonishing type of the linga of Avadhuta fell on the earth. Now what it means is this: Tallingam Chagni Tatsarvam Tallingam Chagni Vatsarvam Yaddadaha Purasthitam Yatra Cha Tadyati Tatra Tatra Dahet Punaha. That linga is not a ordinary some reproductive organ of a human being. It is Bhagavan Shiva himself. See, first of all, the body of Bhagavan is not like our body. That we have to understand. If Bhagavan takes a manifestation, it is appearance of consciousness alone. It is not glossified like our body. Chidanandamaya Deha Tumhari. Even the avatar of Bhagavan happens on the earth. It will be like that. Here this is an appearance, manifestation. There the Lord is born, to Dashrath and Kausalya, or to Vasudeva and Devaki. Body of Bhagavan will not be like our body. So it is not some reproductive organ, some fleshy organ which has fallen. It is Chinmaya only. It is pure consciousness, and that in this context it is Rudra, no? So it is fire. So it is Linga which has fallen, which is fire, Agni. So he says here that this Linga resembling the fire, wherever it goes, it burns everything. Patale cha gatam taccha swarge chapi tathaiva cha bhumau sarvatra tadyatam nakutrapi sthiram hitat. And it is not sthira. It is moving everywhere. And it is of the nature of fire, of light, brilliance, fire. It is burning everything. So now they all feel very scared and they are worried. Nobody is happy at that time. And they did not realize him to be Shiva. So they felt, array, what a mistake, blunder we have done now. They went to Brahmaji and they offered salutations to Brahmaji. And listening to the words of Brahmaji, listening to their words, Brahmaji understood this is Maya of Shiva only. So Brahmaji tells them that you are aware of who is Shiva, you are worshippers of Shiva, and you did not even for a moment think. And how did you curse? You should have at least asked. You didn't ask also who is that person, and directly you cursed just because you saw your wives in that state. So he said, if you act like this, then what to talk about ignorant people? If you cannot recognize Shiva, you have been worshipping him and he manifested in that specific form, and you know he is a Digambara, and you still didn't recognize him. So he says that picking up a row with Shiva, who can save himself? Does a person not welcome a guest who arrives at the house? Atithi Devo Bhava is our culture, and you said Vedic knowledge, you cursed that Avadhuta, saying that you are going contrary to a Vedic path and may your linga fall off. But you have acted contrary. Our Veda says Atithi Devo Bhava, and Atithi who has come in the afternoon seeking Bhiksha. What is wrong in that? Why did you get so upset? So he says that what is the solution now? Yaval lingam sthiram naiva jagatam tritaye shubham jayate na tadakvapi satyam etad vadamyaham. He says, till that linga doesn't become steady, there will not be peace anywhere. So you should think about Shiva Linga in your mind. Bhavadbhischa tadakaryam yatha swasthyam bhavediha Shivalingasya rishayo manasa samvicharyatam. You please think in your mind about Shivalinga. So when Brahmaji said this, Sutaji continues that they offered their salutation to Brahmaji and says, now please tell us how this Shivalinga will be manifested and what is that Shivalinga and what should we do? Please tell us. So Brahmaji said that you must adore Mother Parvati. Aradhyagiri Jamdevim Prarthayantu Sura Shivam Yoni Rupa Bhavet Chedvai Tada Tatsthiratam Vrajet. That you adore Mother Girija, that she should take the form of a yoni, then pray to Shiva to make his linga steady there. Now, we should remember this. The Lord is consciousness, Girija is Prakriti. May that consciousness enliven the Prakriti, and that is the symbolism here. So he says, I will tell you the vidhi. Do this with devotion and she will be pleased. So he gives the vidhi. He says, make an 8-petaled mystic diagram of lotus and place a pot over it. Then the water from the holy places should be poured into the pot along with the sprouts of durva and barley. The pot should be invoked reciting Vedic mantras. It should be worshipped according to Vedic rituals, reciting the name of Shiva. The linga shall be put in that water, O sages. Then the sprinkling is made with the Shatarudriya mantras, meaning Rudram Chamakam. It would then stabilize. Parvati in the form of the yoni and an auspicious arrow shall form the pedestal. So that line which we see now from where the Abhishek water comes down, that is the arrow. Bottom part is that yoni. The pitha actually, the whole thing is the pitha, but that line is what we say Parvati is the arrow. So Parvati in the form of yoni and the auspicious arrow shall form the pedestal, the pitha, wherein the linga shall be installed with the reciting of the Vedic hymns. This will form the complete linga. So with the yoni, the pitha, the linga will be placed in it, and this combination is Shiva Linga. This is Lord Shiva should be adored with offering of sweets, scent, sandal paste, fragrant flowers, incense, and other things, as well as by food and other offerings besides other forms of worship. So one can think of Linga as Nirguna Tattva also. And the Linga also is the form of Bhagwan Shiva himself. Shiva Parvati, it is a union of Shakti and Shiva, Prakriti and Purusha. So if a devotee can think of infinite consciousness, that is the wonderful Nirgun Nirakar Tattva, or worship the Linga. It does not have a specific human form, but it still has a form. And so it will remind the devotee of Shiva. And then worship Bhagwan, offering all the regular items that one offers in the puja. So having known the solution, so they say he explains that after Naivedya you do the chanting of the holy hymns, do the pradakshina, do the prostration, entertain Bhagwan, Surajopachara and all that. Then chant the Swastivachana mantras, and the devotee should do the Jai Jaikara of Bhagwan. Jayeti Vyaharet Tatha. Then, what is the prayer you should offer to the Linga? So he says, Prasanno Bhava Devesha Jagad Ahladakaraka Karta Palayita Tvancha Samharta Tvam Niraksharaha. This is the prayer. Beautiful shloka. It says, Oh Lord, you please be pleased with me. You are the one who delights the entire world. Please shower your grace on me. You are the creator of the universe, preserver, destroyer, and you are eternal. Niraksharaha. So now obviously the Shivalinga indicates that which is infinite consciousness as well as indicates that which is Ishvara. So this is the shloka. Niraksharaha is Brahman and Karta, Palayita, Samharta is Ishvara. So for the Bhakta, Shivalinga is consciousness, absolute, as well as Ishvara, both. You represent the beginning of the universe, the cause of the creation, and the forms of the souls of all. Shanto Bhava Maheshana Sarva Lokancha Palaya. So you please protect the whole universe. Please be peaceful. Please abide here. Please forgive us for our mistake. All that. So he says that with the performing in this manner, all would be happy, leaving no blemish. All the three lokas would become peaceful and happy. So Brahmanas came to know all this from Brahmaji, and they followed the instructions. They took the refuge of Bhagwan Shiva for the benefit of the universe. They worshipped Bhagwan with great devotion, and they offered prayers to him. And then Bhagwan Shiva also manifested there. Maheshwara Uvacha, and he says that when the linga is established with the pitham, So when the lingam has been established with the pitham, then there is great happiness. Except Parvati, no one else can bear the linga, meaning Prakriti is infinite power of Maya only, infinite power of Bhagwan. There is nothing else that can have that ability to hold infinity and make the infinity appear as the creator and then become the whole creation. So this whole Maya Panchakam written by Shankaracharya ji. In that he says that aghatita ghatana patiyasi Maya. This Maya is an expert in making that appear which has never happened. Aghatita ghatana, creation never happened. Because infinity, where is creation possible? It has no space, time, object, nothing. It is changeless. But we still see the creation. So it is said, without undergoing any change, the changeless appears as the changing. Waker is lying on the bed, but in the dream world, the waker goes where all, travels everywhere, goes through so many experiences, but actually nothing has happened. That whole thing is illusory. It's not real. That expert is Maya. So that is the meaning here. So having understood this from Bhagavan, that this Linga is both Purusha and Prakriti, and only then creation happens. The sages also, they prayed to Mother Parvati, they prayed to Bhagavan Shiva, both of them, and as per what was explained, they worshipped Bhagavan, and the Lord manifested in the form of the Linga. And this is said that Hateshamiti Vikyatam Tachiva Shivamityapi Pujanatasya Lokanam Sukham Bhavati Sarvatha. This form of Bhagavan, this Linga is called Hatesha Linga. And whoever worships this form will enjoy all pleasures as well as get mukti. So this is the origin, the story of the Shiva Linga. Now, as Hindus, we should not be apologetic at all. The highest principle in Vedanta of absolute consciousness and then the explanation of the creation is depicted in the Shiva Linga. It is not some depiction of a physical union of a man and a woman. Point one. Point two, what is it doing? If we think of this, all lust in our mind will go away. The men and women there, the Brahmanas and their wives, both are identified with the body. To teach them to rise above body consciousness, this whole Leela is done by Bhagavan. Because they are worshipping the Lord, but they have not dropped the body identification. We have to understand that deeper meaning. So Bhagavan, out of compassion, came there to lift them out of body identification by taking their attention to consciousness, saying Shiva is not a form, and you are also not that form. You are one with Shiva as consciousness, and consciousness alone appears as this whole universe, and you are one with that. So why are you thinking of yourself as the body? Shiva Linga is this for the devotee. So if somebody says that Hindus are worshipping the reproductive organ of Lord Shiva, that is their ignorance. And we don't have to be apologetic about it at all. Saying yes, in Koti Rudra Samhita, this is mentioned, but the meaning is very different. The meaning you have to understand. For that, Vedanta has to be understood. And that's why Gurudev used to say that before you study the Puranas, understand Vedanta properly. Then you study the Puranas, you will understand that the way it has been depicted is the Vedantic principle only through the stories. Without studying Vedanta, if one goes into it, then one says, oh, then they don't know. They think Shiva is some physical human being, and now the reproductive organ is being worshipped. It is not like that. It is the cause of the whole creation. And so Purusha and Prakriti coming together, we worship that supreme. And so this is why Shiva Linga can lead a devotee to Samadhi, because for the devotee, Shiva Linga is Brahman, Shiva Linga is Ishvara, Shiva Linga is eternal, Shiva Linga is Chinmaya. The devotee does not think of So all karma which is there in the mind, Shivji opens the third eye and Kamdev is burnt. This knowledge is the intuitive knowledge. When it arises in our mind, as we worship every day, we worship Bhagavan Shiva through the Linga. We internalize this that I am worshipping Ishvara, the cause of the whole creation. He is the womb. Everything appears from there. And I am one with that tattva. Naturally, karma will get destroyed. It will burn. There is no body. If the most powerful way to destroy karma is to think of oneself as consciousness. If one thinks of oneself, suppose one says, no, consciousness is very abstract. Think of oneself as a jiva also, as a entity who is traveling from one body to another. Karma rises only when we identify with the physical body. I am a man, I am a woman. In this birth, you are a man. Which birth, next birth, what you will be, you don't know. Jiva itself is not having any gender. And what to talk about Brahman? So if one thinks of these subtle aspects, that intuitive knowledge that arises, it will destroy all lust and passion and lift our minds to the sublime. That is Shivlinga. So today we will worship the Shivlinga. As it was said, chant and mantras. Om Namah Shiva is what we will do, the japa, and contemplate on Bhagavan.